Hello everyone, welcome to Teach 5. In this video, we will be focusing on common grammar mistakes in IELTS writing. There are different types of mistakes we do. So what are those different types of mistakes that we commit in IELTS writing? So first is the purpose of grammar. First we have to understand what is the purpose of grammar. The purpose of grammar will always give us the clarity of meaning and readability and creditability. Okay, so the grammar gives you the clear picture of what you tend to say. And if the reader is unable to understand what you're trying to say, it's considered as a grammatical error in any of the tests like IELTS, PT, TOEFL, GRE, GMAT, SAT. But the Teach 5 will clearly explain you what is the purpose of grammar. Let's look at the next slide. The first types of errors, let's see. What are the different types of errors? Wrong word errors. So what are wrong word errors? The common mistakes we do. So we think the similar words are correct. And the next error is punctuation errors. In this particular topic, let's discuss the different types of punctuations like comma, semicolon, colon, and then usage of errors. In this usage of errors, let's look at the subject verb agreement as well as the tenses, how they are useful in our writing. It's just a brief analysis of grammar. So when you people join us at Teach 5, we will be going elaboratively understanding what exactly the IELTS is focusing and what is the particular grammar that we need to know. Let's see the first one is wrong word errors. What are wrong word errors? Types of wrong word errors. There are spellings and typographic mistakes. Don't just rely on spell check. Spell check may deceive you. So it may not give you the clear picture of what exactly the reader wants to. So if you want to know the clear picture, use dictionary. Be careful in using thesaurus. Watch out for words with the wrong shade of meanings. Just click what exactly the meaning of that particular word is and then use the meaning of it. So do not use the spell check. It may also confuse you whether this is correct or that is wrong. Okay, so now what are the different types of common confused words that we write? There and there. So there is a contraction. So they is nothing but it's a short form of they are. Okay, and the next one is possessive. So their weekly meeting, the managers are in their weekly meeting. There is saying it is a possessive of the particular meeting. Place the flowers there. That means it's a particular place. It indicates the location. So see that these three words are used correctly. You are and then you are. So it is a contraction of the short form of you are is you are. So you are going to be a great writer. So your hair looks nice today. So it's a particular person's hair. It's a possessive. Whose or whose. Who's on first base? Contraction of who is. Whose watch is this? Is again a possession. Right? So it's talking about whose watch. It's talking about a particular person's watch. It indicates the person. Next one is common confused words are it's. It's a beautiful day. The contraction is it is. Download the program along with its readme file, possessive. It's so there is no word as it as an apostrophe on the top. There is no word such sort of a word. Please don't try to use that particular word. And the next one is affect. So affect is influencing. Effect is a result. So the outage shouldn't affect anyone during work hours. The outage shouldn't have any effect on users. So these are the different types of common confused words, and there are some of them. So there are two. So two is preposition, right? And then two is talking about also. And then jacket two. So now the number two is a number. I am going to the store. It's a preposition. She decided to go along to is also, right? My jacket is too small. It's talking about excessive amount. I have two buttons missing. It's talking about the numbers. A lot, and lot. A lot is there, but a lot is no word such. A lot. So the workers are worrying a lot about their jobs, right? So to a great degree. So it's talking about to a degree or extent. A lot, there is no word, there is no spelling as such, A-L-O-T. So don't use that word. We were each allotted 20 tickets. That means it's assigned. So these are the different types of common errors that we make in our spellings. So we will also look more of it when we get into the sessions that are happening regularly. So we will be focusing on what are the mistakes, and there is a constant evaluation that is happening in Teach 5. And the next one is punctuation errors. So what are the different types of punctuations? Comma has got different usages. Let me give the comma divides the sentence. Comma also adds meaning to the sentence. Now, for example, how it adds meaning to the sentence. Hang him, not live him. Hang him, not, comma, live him. That means he is not a criminal. Hang him, comma, not live him. That means is a criminal. So comma is depicting who is a criminal, and comma is depicting whether he is not a criminal. Okay, so now we will also see we use the commas after before the conjunctions like and, but, for, or, nor, so, it. The game was over, comma, but the crowd refused to leave. This is a joining word. Yesterday was a birthday, comma, so this is a joining word. They went out to dinner. Use comma after introductory clauses, phrases, or words that come before the main clause. Main clause means main subject of the sentence. While I was eating, while I was watching, while I was sitting, while I was reading, so while I was driving. So this is what the main clause. After each main clause, you need to have a comma. The cat scratched at the door. To get a seat, comma, you would better come early. Well, comma, perhaps it meant no harm. Next comma is use comma to separate three or more words. For example, you want to say a lot of words. The Constitution established the legislative, comma, executive, comma, and judicial branches of government. Use comma to set apart parenthetical phrases in the sentence. My friend Jessica, who lives in a Connecticut, is a yoga teacher. So whenever my name is John, comma, so who lives near my door is so and so, comma. So using a parenthetical phrases also need to have the commas. Let's look at the next one as a semicolon. Semicolon is always a contradictory. Sometimes it's a contradictory, sometimes it's a joining word. Right? So let's use a semicolon between two related independent clauses that are not joined by a conjunction. Okay, participants in the first study were paid, semicolon. Those in the second were unpaid. Use a semicolon to separate elements in a series that already contains commas. The students in the class were from Libya, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Lillings, North Carolina. Okay, so these are the semicolons. Use a semicolon to join two independent clauses when second clause begins with a conjunctive adverb. However, therefore, moreover, further, thus. I really have interest in politics. I really have interest in singing, semicolon. However, I really have an interest in talking, semicolon. I really have an interest in presenting my PowerPoint presentation, semicolon. So these are the, whenever you have adverb, however, therefore, moreover, so you have the comma after that immediately. I do like to stay informed by watching the debate. Okay, so colons. What is the colons? So the two dots of colons. Colon is also placed in extension of the sentence. Okay, so use a colon, introduce a list proceeds by independent clause, so extending. So that means I am going to school, semicolon. That means you are explaining why are you going to school. I am going to the office, semicolon. So you're giving a more information about your office. So whenever you want to give an information more about a previous sentence, then you use the semicolon. Now, for example, the application includes the following pieces, semicolon. So what are those? Personal information, job history, and references. Use the colon to separate an independent clause, and finally phrase or clause that illustrates, extends, or amplifies the preceding thoughts. Okay, so they have agreed on the outcome. Informed participants perform better than do informed participants. So there are a list of examples of colons and then apostrophes. So what is apostrophe? Apostrophe, use apostrophe to create a contraction, but don't use contractions in your academic writing. I don't like him very much. So this is what apostrophe is. Use an apostrophe to form a possessive noun. My mother's job. Okay. Do not use apostrophe to form a plural. So don't use, remember that it's, right? It is, but it's is possessive. So apostrophe and then quotation marks. So we know quotation marks whenever you derive some information from some information, if it is not of yours, you have taken information from some other books or some other articles and some other theory, and whichever the information is not of yours, you'll be putting into the inverted commas. If the sentence ends with a quotation and if there is no parenthetical citations, put your final mark of punctuation instead the quotation marks. The dog is big as ours, so quotation closed. If the sentence contains after the quotation, you will usually need a comma after your quotation, but before your final quotation mark. I wish this workshop were over, John said. So these are the various approaches of understanding quotation marks, and there are different ways of, if your sentence ends with a footnote, put the superscript number after your final mark of the punctuation. According to car and driver, Daniel is among the most angling full-size sport utility vehicles. So this number we put it because we have taken from some particular. There are different quotation marks. So you're giving the numbers of quotation marks and then you give the footnotes at the down. So it's more of a professional way of writing. So we don't have to worry this much because it is not that much required in IELTS writing. So just I gave you the glimpses of what exactly the quotation marks is. So now let's look at the usage of errors. So mostly the tenses and subject verb agreement. So fragments. So what is a fragment? A complete sentence must have three components. So what is that? A subject, predict, and complete thought. Okay, subject means what is the idea that you're talking about, and predict is a verb, it's action. And what is action's result? Fragment is an incomplete sentence. It cannot stand alone and does not express a complete thought. Some fragments lack either a subject or verb or both. Dependent clauses are also fragments if they stand alone. So let's look into few more examples of what this fragment is all about. Went out of business after Starbucks coffee opened. So does not make any sentence here. So there is no subject. So we have only a kind of an object, and then we have the kind of a prediction. So one of my friends who won a contest by playing a variety of instruments. So again, since I went fishing. So these are the important information fragment examples that we run on sentences. So what do you mean by run on sentence? Run on sentence is sentence comprised of two or more independent clauses not properly separated. Okay, so lack of punctuations or conjunctions, incorrect punctuations. A comma splice. Two independent clauses joined by a comma is run on sentence. Two independent clauses joined by a comma is a run on sentence. Run on sentence means you have a very lengthier sentence and then you are dividing the sentence to break the sentence because I am unable to read the whole sentence and understand. So run on sentence is that giving an accurate comma. A run on sentence is not simply a long sentence. It's not simply a long sentence. It is a meaningfully posing a comma between the lines to understand. So let's see, long sentence can be grammatically correct, but so understandably it is wrong. So you should look at this example so more clearly, then you understand what exactly the run-on sentence is. Run-on examples. My favorite Mediterranean spread is humans. It is very garlicky. It is nearly 5:30. We cannot reach town before dark. So run-on sentence, dangling participations. Sorry, dangling participles. Okay, so dangling participles. Dangling participles is a word or a phrase that modifies a word not clearly stated or an uni-intended noun in the sentence. Correct dangling participants reward the sentence, provide the missing information. So that means I have given an information, but the information is not up to the mark because it does not have a complete sentence. So let's look at the examples. After rooting in the cellar, my brother brought up some oranges. So now what he was doing after means what he was doing before. So that sentence is what a dangling sentence which completes the meaning. Right? Featuring plug-in circuit boards, we cannot strongly endorse this server's flexibility and growth potentially. Okay, so now we strongly endorse this server's flexibility. This servers means which servers? So now having finished the assignment, the TV was turned on. Having finished the assignment. So what were you doing? Assignment. The TV was turned on. So it does not make any sense. Dangling sense makes a clear sentence what exactly the sentence means. So verb sentence, verb tense. So verb tense should be consistent throughout your writing. So verbs are very much important, helping verbs. Is, or, am, was, eat, so, and all that. Review literature should be in the present tense. So reviews of literature should be in the present tense. Historical event should be in the past tense. Okay, so reviews of literatures. Reviews of literatures means what? I celebrate Diwali. So I celebrate Diwali. So I celebrate Diwali means it is a reviews of what Diwali is. Historical events. Taj Mahal has built. What the Taj Mahal was built by. So that means it's a history. So whenever you want to write something in the past, in the history or the story, you need to attempt that in the past tense. Whenever you are writing something habitually happening every year, every day, and then scientific and facts has to be written in the present tense form. Correcting tense shifts. Be consistent throughout your sentence and paragraphs. Be familiar with verb forms and tenses. Okay, so let's see tense shift examples. About noon, the sky darkened. A breeze sprang up, and a low rumble announces the approaching storm. These are the few examples that we can look into. Now, pronoun, antecedent, and agreement. What are pronouns? Pronouns means which takes the place of a noun. Antecedents are the words that the pronouns refer to. Right? So, what are the pronouns? Must agree with their antecedents in the number, gender, and person. Number, singular or plural. Gender, masculine, feminine, or neutral. And person, first, second, or third person. Okay, so now everyone should make their own decisions. So each speaker maintain their poise. Okay, so subject verb agreement is very important. Subject should agree with the verb, and verbally agree should agree with the agreement. Singular subject must have a singular verb. Plural subject must have a plural verb. Rule of thumb: subject ending in s or plural. Verbs ending in s are singular. Right? Okay, correcting agreements errors become more familiar with. So let's look at the examples. Subject verb: the box of ornaments belong in the attic. So the box is what the box of ornaments is an agree with the belong in attic. High levels of mercury occurs in some fish. What we need are more pots and pans. So these are the, so now let's see how to prevent the errors. So editing yourself. So editing yourself means what? Prevent your errors. Learn the rules of grammar. Plan ahead. Leave yourself enough time to edit. So whenever you're writing, let's keep at least 5 minutes spell check, grammar check, terminology check, and then punctuations check. Know your writing weakness. Read aloud or in reverse. Don't be afraid to delete. So delete and write once again, and read once again, and then correct your mistakes. So now Teach 5 is an institute where makes every individual to a depth study of what grammar is all about when we discuss about the writing module. So now please don't forget to like or subscribe to our channel. Let us know what would you like us to post in the next video. View our upcoming batches at www.teach5.com or write to us at info@teach5. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to Teach 5. Today, let us focus on common IELTS reading mistakes and how to avoid them. So Teach 5 will take you through the common IELTS mistakes. In this video, let's focus on various aspects of mistakes we commit while doing our reading. The first mistake is spelling errors and poor vocabulary. The spelling errors can be various types. Okay, so now we take for granted that the spellings that we know are correct. But when we look into the reading passage, the spellings are different. Okay, write the spellings exactly according to the reading passage. Do not write your own spellings. Poor vocabulary. So poor vocabulary means what? So you just understand the word in a different manner. That is called the poor vocabulary. So let's understand this slide in a more elaboratively. When completing the written portion of the IELTS exam, it's important to review your spelling. The most common IELTS mistakes include spelling, and it's one of the easiest ones to avoid by simply reviewing. So we almost simple mistakes we make and then we take it for granted that this particular error is correct. If you are unsure of the correct spelling of a word, avoid using it. Instead, find its synonym. It's vital to remember many words in the English language are spelled similarly but mean different things. Right? So the common words, some of the words may seem similar, but the meaning is different. Okay, so we'll have to take care of that. You can build your vocabulary by reading more and writing down the words you are reading. So whenever you read the newspapers, take down the newspapers, read the newspapers, collect those words, write down, and then try to learn its meaning and its spelling. This will ultimately help with your spelling too. You must have a good vocabulary to succeed in the English language. Without it, you will face many challenges, whether it's reading signs, speaking to others, or listening. Okay, so now the spellings are exactly there in the passage. The only thing is we think we know the spelling and we write the wrong spelling. That will take us to a wrong direction. and poor vocabulary, we know the meaning and we understand the meaning in a different manner. So try to anticipate the spellings clear and the meanings of the words exactly according to its meaning. So let's look into the second, time management, which is very important. Okay, so in the time management, we know most of the trainers say that scanning and skimming, or some of them say that reading the questions, or some of them say that they're reading the instructions. Okay, the most important thing when you do read comprehension, scanning and skimming is the most important thing. You need to be a fast reader. It's not that just read. Okay, let's understand what exactly the time management means. This is one of the most common IELTS mistakes made by test takers. It can be tough to complete the test within a certain time span, and so time management skills are crucial when taking the IELTS exam. You don't want to spend a lot of time answering one question and then get little time on the next. It's important to know exactly how much time is needed on each question. This way, you can answer each question fully to the best of your abilities. You might even consider a strategy, for example, answering the short questions that involve less brainstorming first. Time is time is of the essence. So now whenever you go, so there are different types of questions in reading. So the reading, finding information, fill in the blanks, gap filling, flow chart, true, false, not given, subheadings, right? So now we need to attempt this passage and attempt the question type which is easier to us first. So when you attempt the question type which is easier to you first, you get a brief analysis of what the passage is. When you're attempting a next question type, for example, subheadings, you may not have a great struggle to read the passage. So that's how we need to tackle the question type which is easier and then move on, and then you can save the time. Exactly, you can finish the time within 60 minutes. Let's go to the next mistakes that we do. Mispronunciation. Okay, so mispronunciation means what? So here the reading comprehension does not have mispronunciation. Mispronunciation, we always mispronounce the words and think. Mispronunciation will always take us to a wrong direction of understanding the meaning. Pronounce the word exactly what it is written in the passage. IELTS test makers are aware you are an international student. Of course, this is a test of English proficiency. With this being said, your accent will not cause you to lose any points. However, the way you pronounce English words will. You must ensure you are saying each word fully and clearly. For instance, if you are pronouncing the word probably, you shouldn't say probably, as that's incorrect. The best way to tackle this is to practice, practice, practice. You might even consider practicing with the native English speakers. So mispronunciation is not only help us with the communication, and then in the reading comprehension, mispronunciation also will lead us to a wrong direction of understanding the passage in a different manner. This is a third mistake that we tackle. And then to tackle this problem is to practice phonetics, right? Okay, so the fourth error, blank answers. Okay, so we may not know what is the exact answer for that particular blank. So we leave out that particular blank. It's not that we don't have any negative marking. We don't have any negative marking in that. Okay, so blank answers has to be answered clearly because they are the ones which are most easier. Here is a quick tip. Don't leave any of the question blanks. This is incredibly important. If you're unsure of the answer, it's better to write something as opposed to nothing because we don't have negative marking in this. So write the answer. Blank answers are the easiest ones. Please don't leave those ones. There's a higher chance of you getting part marks even if you make a guess. You won't lose out on anything by simply trying. Who knows, you guess may even end up being correct. Okay, so sometimes the answer may be incorrect. You think it is incorrect, but according to the examiner's point of view, the answer may be correct. So please do not leave any blank answers empty. Fill all the answers so that you get at least some marks, even though you think it is incorrect. Let's go to the next error. What is the fifth error? Lack of transition. So what is the meaning of transition? Transition words are very much important in IELTS examination. Transition words means it's like there are different types of transition words. Transitional words are the linkers of the sentences. For example, even though, although, instead of, on the other hand. So we need to understand the different types of transitions. First thing is stages of talk. So what is stages of talk? What transitional words for the stages of talk? Firstly, secondly, thirdly. Examples. What are the transitional words? For instance, such as, for example, right? And then what are the transitional words for contradictions? Even though, although, in spite of, on the other hand. So what are the transitional words for as a result, end results, outcome, solution? Right? What are the transitional words for adding information in addition to? What are the transitional words for extenders? So, since, hence. Because in the reading comprehension, they are the signposts. Now, for example, the question is asked, what are the two examples of bacteria that are no longer killed by modern antibiotic drugs? So the question here, the signpost here is for example. So we need to look for the similar words such as, for instance. So these are the signposts that directly take me to the area where my answer lies. So the transitional words are very much important to understand the passage more clearly, and they show us the process of understanding the passage. Let's understand what does this lack of transition say. Another one of the more common IELTS mistakes made is a lack of transition words. These are what makes sentence smooth and make conversations flow. Transitional words help to reader and listener understand your idea and make the connections between your previous sentences. Transitional words make a sure there's a structure to what you are saying and there are no gaps between your sentences. And so transitional words are very important and contribute to higher points in your IELTS exam. Okay, so these are the very much important aspects of understanding the transitional words. Lack of transitional words, listening becomes tough, reading becomes tough, writing becomes tough, and speaking becomes tough. Because in the reading, they are giving you a signs to which are the paragraphs you have the answer. In writing, it is making the reader to be easy to understand the concepts. Speaking is also the same. Listening is also the same. It guides you to find the answer. So lack of transitions will always create a tremendous drastic decline of our scores. There are three important things in IELTS. One is a restatement, and the other one is a synonyms, and the other one is a transition. If these three aspects are clearly known, a student can score above 8 between 9 bands. The Teach 5 is a thing where makes every person to a direct contact with the IELTS pattern, an important concept what exactly the IELTS deals with. That is what the Teach 5 specialty is all about. Let's go to the last error. What is of lack of focus? Okay, so you see a lengthier passage and then your concentration deviates from one aspect to the other and then you don't have much focus. So try to develop reading newspapers, try to develop reading articles. A person who reads a lot can only crack the IELTS exam smoothly because among all the other modules, reading and writing is the toughest module. So try reading the concepts of articles, newspapers, and your books so that you can create a kind of an interest and focus to read. So what exactly the lack of focus means? Focus is key, especially when it comes to listening and speaking. You must give your undivided attention when talking, when taking the exam. While this too is one of the most common IELTS mistakes made, it's easily avoidable. Repeat sentence to yourself if you must. Make sure you understand everything being communicated to you before you respond. Focus on giving the correct response. Don't try to memorize the questions and answers when you are in preparation for the exam. Memorizing could possibly even results in fewer points. Just focus on absorbing what's being communicated to you and delivering clear information. So exactly understand. I hope this video has given you the clear picture of what exactly the reading comprehension needs. And then please do join us stage 5 and then we will be going more elaboratively and more focused in developing the concepts more vividly and then clearly to the depth. So please do contact us and don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. Let us know what would you like us to post in the next video. So you view our upcoming batches at www.teach5.teach5.com or write to us at info@teach5.com. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome to Teach 5. So in this video, let's look at the IELTS essentials. So what do you mean by essentials? Essentials means important aspects that we need to keep in mind when we are doing IELTS exam. So first thing, let's see what is the first thing that we need to do. Improve your English. Improve your English means try reading the newspapers, try listening to the speeches, try watching the news. Like BBC News is the best thing that you can. Once you read and then listen, try to paraphrase them. Try to understand them in your own ways. Okay, so first point, use your English every day. Read, speak, listen, and write in English as often as you can. This is a proven way to improve your English and therefore your IELTS score. So IELTS is nothing but it's not based on your intellectual capacity. It is based on your English language, how you understand things. Okay, so have a kind of a group discussions with lots of people, with your friends and family in developing the English language. So that's I told you listen to YouTube speeches of great people like Shiv Kera and then other great speakers. Okay, so and then listen to BBC News and listen to and read the lot of articles so that you can develop your English language. Listen to English language radio, television, and film. Try to listen to a variety of English accent, including American, Australian, British, Canadian, and then New Zealand. And New Zealand. So now in this video, so we are just explaining how to develop our English language. So when you come to IELTS listening, it's not that we have only American accent or British accent. It is everyone who speaks. A Chinese also may speak, an Indian also may speak. So get used to the different types of accent and different types of people's accent so that you can do your listening more vividly and then clearly. Read English publications wherever possible. Write letters, emails, or notes in English to practice your written skills. So keep writing SMS or emails to your friends and then write complaints to the officials so that you can develop your English language. And second thing is understand the test format and rules. So test format and rules, it's a Teach5 is a very professional institute where they bring out the essence of what is IELTS is all about. The first and foremost is understand the format of the test, what is listening is, what is reading is, and what is writing is, and what is speaking is, and how what are the rules if I'm doing the listening, what are the strategies that I need to find out. If I'm doing reading, what are the strategies? If I'm writing, we need to know how an evaluator evaluates our test, evaluation criteria, and speaking evaluation criteria, how to start and how to end, what has to be written in the introduction paragraph, what not. So it will clearly explain the entire thing. Training, the listening and the speaking components are the same for both tests, but the reading and writing components are different. So listening and speaking is same for the general, and reading and writing is different for the academic and general. Read the information for candidates booklet, which provides essential information about how to respond correctly to each part of the test. So when you go for the test, you will be given a kind of a booklet. So you have all the instructions in that, whether you need to write with a pencil or you need to write with a pen. So listening and reading definitely has to be written with a pencil, not the pen. If you write with the pen, you will be getting 0 for it, right? So, and then follow the instructions carefully, what is written in the booklet. So accordingly, you can write the answers. You can also collect a copy of this form to your test center. Read the notice to candidates. So you can also get the instructions at the candidate's place itself. Get to know what each level on the IELTS band score table means. So get to know what is 6 bands, how many answers. For example, in listening, if I'm getting 25, 27 answers correct, what is a band score for me? It is 6.5 bands. In listening, if I'm getting 30 answers correct, what is the band score for me? So get familiarized with the band score of IELTS so that you can focus your targeted score. Understand what the examiners are looking for in the speaking and writing test by reading the assessment criteria. So assessment criteria, for example, if you see, they will be looking at your fluency, they'll be looking at your task response, they'll be looking at your lexical resource, they'll be looking at your grammatical range and accuracy. So they'll be looking at your coercion and cohesion. So to understand all these concepts, if you can take the training from us, it will be clearly explained and then we will really help you to get a good score. Get the facts, don't believe myths and rumors about the test. They will only distract you. So now most of the rumors is IDP is easier or British Council is easier. And people, their rumor is IDP is easy, whereas British Council is tough. So this rumor is not correct. IDP and British Council both are same. There is no difference in both the tests. So take the test confidently, whichever the way you want to take it, IDP or British Council. Okay, next. So practice sample questions. Practice sample questions. You can download the material from online. The Cambridge material book numbers like book number 1 to 13, it is available. Keep practicing them and then go and then write the exam. Okay. Next, try to feel relaxed on the day before your test. So before your test, don't be panicked because the more you practice, the more the questions rise. The more you practice, the self content will be not up to the mark. So before the exam, get ready with your things like taking a passport ready and then taking the passport zero copyright of color photo the passport and then checking for your exam center. Go to the exam center and check where it is so that the next day you can freely go without any hesitations or without any difficulties to understand. On the day before your test, take the time to refresh your memory of the test rules, test format and location so that you feel as relaxed as possible. Read the information for candidates booklet again. This contains essential information to help you to do your best. Okay, so test taking tips in listening. So if you take briefly, let's discuss on what is that listening. At the beginning of each section, you will be given 30 minutes, 30 seconds. What has to be done when it is given 30 seconds? Just go through the questions and understand how to anticipate the answer. Before the recording starts, they will have you to follow the recording and identify the answer. Listen carefully for clues as to which stage of the recording are you listening to. Example words such as firstly, by next point to sum up. So that means the transitional words are very important. There are different types of transitional words. The transitional words are firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, at the end. And then second transitional words are like contrasting words, but even though all the focus on those sign words so that you get an accurate answer. These words will help you to identify which question you have reached. The next one is reading. So reading is a kind of a thing that you can help you to improve your scanning and skimming. Try to read the questions meaningfully. Try to understand the clue words and then try to paraphrase the sentence. To improve your performance in the reading test, you need to practice reading a variety of English tests. This will help you develop the ability to read quickly as is required under test conditions. The test includes in the reading test always contains the information you need to answer the question. So you won't have to use your own knowledge of a topic. That means all the answers that you want to find are there in the passage. So you don't have to look for anything else. Writing, be careful to use your own words because examiners will not include words copied from the question in the word count. So whatever the questions you have been copying, there are some, for example, you have written the word see 3, 4 times. I think the examiners will not be counting those words. Try to use lots of synonyms, see, look, view, perceive, and witness. Make your position or point of view as clear as possible in your essay for academic writing task 2. The last paragraph should be a conclusion, which consists with the arguments you have included in your essay. So we'll explain you how to write the introduction paragraph. Introduction paragraph have to have the main topic and the thesis statement. And then the body paragraph, reason 1, reason 2, the 90% and the 10%, and what has to be done with the conclusion. So we'll be explaining you elaboratively when we come and join our sessions that are regularly happening from early morning to late nights. So you can choose any batch and then be with us as a part to get a good score. Speaking. So speaking, there are 3 parts. So speaking also we need to understand what is the level of speaking test the examiners. In the lead up to the speaking test, make sure you take the time to practice speaking English with friends at work and on the phone. You should also consider recording yourself so that you are confident speaking English during your test. So when you are speaking and then recording, you know the sentence structure that you made a mistake, grammar that you made a mistake, and then fillers. There are no right and wrong answers in the speaking test. The examiner will assess you on how well you can express your ideas and opinions in good English. Okay, so I've given you the essentials. This video we have discussed the essentials. So if you want to go deeper into our essentials, Please do join us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what would you like us to post in the next video. View our upcoming batches at www.teach5.com or write to us at info@teach5. Thank you and have a nice day. See you. In this video, let's discuss IELTS speaking and what are the common mistakes. So 10 common mistakes to avoid. Okay, so this will help us to get a good score in our IELTS speaking. So what are those mistakes to avoid? First one is silence. So whenever the question is asked, do not give a long pause. Give a short pause. If you give a long pause, the examiner will think that you are not able to speak on that particular question and he will go on to the next. So different cultures have different attitudes to silence. But for English speakers, the attitude is one of near zero tolerance. It's fine to hesitate for a few seconds before speaking or between ideas, but silences of longer than 5 seconds will go down badly. Happily, there is a solution to this problem, and that's to learn some fillers expressions such as "that's a tough question" and "let me." So, if instead of giving the short answer, instead of giving silence when the question is asked, you can say that this question seems to be a bit complicated, or this question sounds to be not that closer understanding for me. I think I can understand this in a better form. So start with the fillers so that you are not giving the silence immediately. Once you are explaining this sort of a words, then you can think of what to speak next. So avoid silence of a longer pause so you will be asked to go to the next question, right? And the second mistakes to avoid is memorized answers. So the examiners are well trained. They can easily understand whether you have learned the answers or whether it is a spontaneous. So give a sign of spontaneity, not the memorized questions. If the examiner feels that you have memorized the question, he can ask his own questions to extend the time. The actual time is 11 to 14 minutes. You can take 10 minutes extra or 20 minutes extra to get the spontaneity from your side. See that you don't memorize the questions. Speak spontaneously. The examiner is very likely to notice if you try to recite an answer from memory, and there is a penalty for this. The telltale signs of a memorized answer include speaking in a written style of English, unnatural intonation, and the candidates attempting to rephrase the question to the one they want to answer. Any questions you try to memorize answers to are very unlikely to be asked. So it is much more effective to practice speaking about a wide range of topics before you take the test. So see that you don't memorize the answer, give a tone of spontaneity rather than memorized or learned. So do not speak as if you have learned something. Second, overuse of transitional signals. What are transitional signals? So we keep on using on the other hand, firstly, secondly, even though in addition to, because most of the people say that the more the transitional words you use, the more the score. Use the transitional words in appropriate places as limited as possible so that it makes a connection. It does not deviate from the topic. It's helpful to use a fewer signposting words, like firstly, for example, on the other hand. But if you overload your speech with this, you could actually damage your score. Sounding naturally, not like a signposting robot, should be your goal in IELTS speaking. There are also many words characteristics of formal writing, such as furthermore, moreover, and in addition, that are hardly ever used in speech and could actually make you sound less natural if you say them. So, moreover, further, in addition to, they are mostly used in writing and speaking. The words are used like firstly, secondly, for example, instance, on the other hand, but, because these are the words mostly used in speaking. So, try to use less transition words. See, and then try to use the transitional words appropriately. Do not use inappropriate, so where you lose your marks. So get aware of this transition signals. Next one is parroting the question. Parroting the question means what? Now, for example, the question is asked, what's your name? So the question is asked, what is your hobby? The parroting means my hobby is. So instead of say repeating the question as it is, try not to repeat the question as it is. Try not to repeat the question as it is. Instead, put it in a different form, put it in a different paraphrasing form. So what is your favorite hobby? To speak, to say the truth, the hobby that I do it regularly is. That's where you can start. Okay, let's see. In the wild, a parrot is a bird that can mimic but not understand human speech. In IELTS, a parrot is a candidate who repeats the question back in a statement form. What is your favorite sport to watch on TV? My favorite sport to watch on TV is football. So this way of answering will lose the marks. As a scoring criteria of IELTS heavily rewarded those who can vary speech. Paraphrasing the words or structure of the question is a fast track route to a higher score. I am always watching football on TV. So instead of saying my favorite sports to watch, instead of saying that, I do always watch sports, but the favorite thing that I do regularly watch is football. So giving a paraphrasing answer without repeating the question as it is as the examiner asked. This is the fourth mistakes that we do, and then please do avoid this. And the fifth one is answer the wrong question. So you will lose marks for coherence if your answer completely fails to address the question. So that means you are not answering exactly what the question is asked. So you're deviating from the topic. Ask yourself before you begin speaking if you are sure you have understood, and do not be afraid to ask the examiner for help, but be sure to avoid. Okay, so now you are not answering the question, so that means do not give whatever way you want. If you can politely ask the examiner to explain the question, to explain it, but not always all the questions. Few questions can be understandable, not all the questions to ask and to get the clarification. Sixth mistake, saying I don't understand. Okay, there are much better ways to check for meaning, so learn them. You can use a straightforward request like, could you say that again? Okay, so don't ask, I don't understand. So use in a different form, I beg your pardon. Can you repeat the question because I don't understand what you said? Okay, put it in a different way. Don't rashly ask the examiner to explain. Ask as checking questions such as, do you mean? That shows you have at least partially understood the question. Okay, so do you mean to say this? Or do you have any other meaning? So do you mean to say this, or there is a different thing altogether? So this is the sixth mistake that you need to avoid. Seventh mistake is saying too much or too little. So people keep on talking in part one, keep it 6 sentences, and part three, keep to 6 to 7 sentences. Do not bore the examiner, putting a lot of ideas, and do not say very little. Okay, so a 6 sentence is must that you need to speak in the first and the third, and the second part at least 1 minute to 2 minutes. If you say too little, you miss the opportunity to show off your ability. So if you speak too little, then you are saying the examiner that you don't have much English language with you. So you are not the eligible candidate to go abroad. Speak more and then prove yourself that you can manage speaking English in abroad countries. If you say too much, you risk sounding less coherent and making more mistakes. So if you speak so much, you make a lot of mistakes. And if you speak so much, you also deviate the topic. As a general guide, answers of 2 to 4 sentences are fine in part one. Keep it 6. There are clear instructions about the length of speaking time in part two. You should aim to say 3 to 6 sentences after each question in part three. Okay, so 2 to 3 sentences or 6 sentences would be a good thing that you can use the sentences to speak. Seventh, mistakes to avoid. Eighth, poor pronunciation. The pronunciation, mother tongue influence does not matter in IELTS, but see that each and every word is clear, right? So you speak like an Indian, do not twist your tongue and confuse the examiner. Great ideas are worthless if the listeners can't make out your words. There's a good reason pronunciation accounts for 20%, 25% of the score in IELTS speaking, and that's because it's fundamental to spoken communication. If you don't have a proper pronunciation, if you're not saying the words clearly, speak slow and then clear. Let each and every word be pronounced well to get a good score. Before taking IELTS, you should find an opportunity to practice with native or native level speakers and get honest appraisals of your pronunciation. If they have trouble hearing your words, it's very likely that examiner will too. Okay, so try speaking to a person who has good accent, a good language, a good pronunciation. Get the feedback from him so that you know whether your pronunciation is clear. If he is clear, the examiner is also clear, then you get a good score. So eighth mistakes to avoid. Flat intonation. So English language is not the same language as we speak in mother tongue influence. You need to have the falling tone, rising tone, and then the same tone, stability tone, constant tone. Okay, so have whenever there is a full stop, have a falling tone. When there is a comma, rising tone. Stress on the few important words, few important sentences, making it clear this sentence makes a very important. Even when you pronounce words clearly, Flat intonation will make it difficult to follow what you say. We vary intonation, pitch, volume, and speaking speed in order to maintain the listener's interest and direct attention to our important ideas. Even IELTS examiners who are trained to listen carefully to everything a candidate says will find a flat intoned response difficult to follow, and your response may be marked down for both pronunciation and coherence as a result. Okay, this is the ninth mistake to avoid, and then have a clear and then intonation, have a falling tone, rising tone. Asking for the examiner's opinion. You are there to answer the question, not ask them. The examiners will politely redirect to question back your way if you try to stall for time by saying, I don't know what to do. What do you think? If you really don't have any ideas, just say, I am afraid I know nothing about this topic, and wait for the next question. Okay, so ask for the examiner's opinion. So just say, I am afraid I don't know anything, but still I will try to respond. At least you have covered 3, 4 sentences. Okay, so if you want to understand many more mistakes that you do, please do join us. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what would you like us to post in the next video. View our upcoming batches at www.teachfy.com or write to us at info@teachfy.com. Thank you.